Okay, all right. Well, Bridgett, thank you so much for having a conversation with me today. And tell everyone who you are and what you're doing with neighborhood finance.
Sure. So I'm the diversity, equity, and inclusion mortgage loan originator and outreach coordinator.
You got
like a big long title. Absolutely. But of course, some important work, right?
Yeah.
So I do loans for mortgages, and then I also do the outreach piece, which kind of come hand in hand with some of this too. NFC has been around for about 32 years, maybe 34 even. I might be off a couple of years, but we've been kind of like the best kept secret. So only if you're a friend or your neighbor or someone used NFC would you necessarily know about NFC.
Right.
But in the past couple of years, we've kind of like picked up some word, and we're starting to do a lot more outreach on social media and just getting seen and letting folks know we're out there still. So.
Yeah, you guys seem to span a larger portion, I feel like, of the city. I see different places where if everyone's familiar with the signs that are there, your NFC signs are there. So where are you located? Like, is it just a cluster certain area, or are you out a little bit more across the city of Des Moines?
Yeah, so that's always kind of a complicated question, just because there are certain boundary lines, as you pointed out. So we're in the greater Des Moines area, so a good chunk of Des Moines, you're going to see us there, right? But then we also have pockets of like Windsor Heights, which is teeny tiny, but we still have some of them. We've got an expansion that we did just last year on Urbandale, so we've got more over by like Lower Beaver, like Merle Hay area, and then we have historic Valley Junction as well. So we've got a little pocket, a little bit of everywhere, and of course all of these boundary lines expand based on the partnerships that we have with the city and the counties and how they see it fit for their neighborhoods and how it may kind of incorporate for them. So
yeah, no, that's great. So then the process, I know we've talked about this before, but I think it's a good refresher for people about this process, because we tend not to always retain the information.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about this process of, wanting to own a home, or, maybe I drive by and I see something that I'm like, oh, that might work. What does this process look like for me as a person who's interested in services, or just trying to even figure out where I start? I think that's the hardest thing for people, is like, where do I start with all of this? And so then we go to Google, and sometimes Google's not the best source of all the information.
Not at all.
So where do we start with all of
Sure.
this?
So I mean, the first thing in any situation, whether you're using NFC or some other lender, is like, are you ready to be a homeowner? That's the big question, right? Because it's a lot of money tied up into it. And yeah, you can get 0% financing. Yeah, you can get some assistance for down payment. But when it really comes down to it, you still got to have some money in your pocket. So the first step is just realizing, do you have any money that if you had to put something down, or you had to fix something on your own, would you be able to do that?
Okay.
So that's the big realization, is, am I ready for that? And then building off of that is like, what components do lenders look for that I need to be prepared for? Like, are they looking for a 620 credit score, or are they looking for a 500? So you got to be sure that, no matter who you're using, it's pretty much across the board standard, but you just want to make sure those little nuances that you're particularly ready for that particular step in lending. But other than that, from there, it's like all the excitement, right, is at the end. It's like in the beginning, but it's like, are you really ready? And then you start to doubt yourself. You start to have second questions, second guessing yourself. And then you start to have friends telling you, oh, well, this was happened to me. And, all this stuff happens, but it's just taking a step back and saying, what's best for me? If you make sure that you put it in the plan for at least a year, if you're just now starting off, put a year timeline for it. A year is going to be plenty of time to get your credit right, to get your money right, to whatever that housing stock is going to do, the interest rate, whatever they're going to do, and kind of mellow it out and kind of figure it out. But if it's before that year, at least you know that you had it set for a full year, and if you're ready before then, that's great too. But just again, that whole piece of making sure that you're ready to go, and then all the rest of it follows. Shopping around for mortgages, shopping around for houses. It can be overwhelming, but make sure that you have somebody on your side, like a realtor or somebody who really knows the ins and outs of the housing market, what the maybe interest rate's going to do. I feel a lot of people are just tied up in the interest rate, right? That's the thing, though. That's what we were taught, right? Interest rate is the big deal. But when it comes down to it, especially with programs like NFC, that interest rate really is not going to make a difference. Yeah, we're at like 6%, 7%, but like all the benefits that come with it are well worth that higher interest rate. And again, we're not a cookie cutter for everybody. Other lenders have different rates. Maybe you just are comfortable with them down the street. Go and do so, but make sure you do your research ahead of time as well.
So then if I see something, I come to NFC to get some assistance, what are some of the things that you can provide for individuals when they come through your doors?
Sure. So most of the people who come through our doors like, okay, well, first of all, how does this program work?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I always say this lasagna. It's a lasagna. There's a layer it on all the time. So what we can provide to them is a clearer understanding of what the program means, what their other options may be. And when we say other options, we're talking about mortgage products, right? So we're telling them, okay, yeah, we can do this for you here, but another lender down the street might do 0% financing. What does that necessarily mean? It might mean an ARM, an adjustable rate. So you might see your rate go up and down, your payment go up and down. So we kind of educate them on that end that, you know, here are your other options besides NFC. But a big valuable part of it is, again, making sure that they're ready. We want to tell them straight up, like, okay, I'm not going to discourage you from applying for a loan, but I just want to tell you right now, from what you're telling me, I don't think you're quite ready. So we give them that kind of realization, like, this is what we can do for you, but you have to be set up properly in order to do it. So just giving them the resources, giving them that basic education of what it means to work with a lender are the top that I would say that we provide to them. And then of course, all the other goodies, right? That forgivable money for home improvement when you first move in the house, like that's a big ticket thing, right? Or free money, as people say as well. But then, you know, again, they're already equipped in the beginning, knowing what they have to come into. So yeah, you get some free money or you get some forgivable money, but then what's after that, right? So we're looking at the shiny red thing that's all pretty and everybody's going for it, but like what's following that, right? So we kind of set them up for that as well.
Yeah, I think it's great that you all provide that education. I think there's, you know, nothing worse than thinking that you're ready for something and then you find out, or you get so far down the line in something and you realize that that's not it. So I think it's great that you all take the time to say, hey, maybe not yet. So then in that process where you might tell someone maybe not yet, are there some educational opportunities you provide? Is there some training that you all help individuals if they're just not ready for that step yet?
Sure, absolutely. You know, number one, we always preach about home buyer education. So home buyer education through a HUD approved agency like Home Inc. or Habitat for Humanity, that's where lenders are going to send you anyway, so you might as well get it knocked out right in the beginning, right? And it'll answer all of those questions that you ultimately will have in the end. It'll take you through each step of the home buying process. So I always start, if you're not ready now, or if we feel you're not ready now, go ahead and start with that home buyer education. It'll answer us so many questions, right? And then it depends on what they're needing specifically. If it's, I got a lower credit score, or I just need to build up some savings, there's resources like Habitat or like Home Inc. Or like EKD, Evelyn K. Davis Center for Working Families, that help support folks like this with little to no budget. So we give them those resources as well, depending on what they need to work on.
Okay, no, that's great. So we know that you all, some people may not know, you have moved. So locations have changed. You're in a whole different place. In the area that you're in, and you left the Riverbend area, and I just want to let people know that that doesn't mean anything has changed, because I think people see you leave and they go, well, what's that all about? What's going on? So you want to talk a little bit about the move and just what all that means?
Absolutely, yeah. So I know, there's a lot of haters that are like, oh, yeah, well, you're not in the Riverbend anymore. You can't do anything for us.
Right.
No, but we would never forget our roots. Riverbend has always been our home, our starting point, and even if you drive by today, unfortunately, that sign for neighborhood finance is still on that building, right? So folks often come there thinking that it's neighborhood finance, and it's not. But you know, even though we are not in the Riverbend neighborhood, we still fulfill our mission to the fullest. We had to move because we just had no room. Everybody's all cramped up in the office, and so it's like it's time for a change. We're growing, you know, we're getting more staff. We're starting to add more, you know, dynamics to all of our programs. So we need more room. So first of all, we needed more room. This opportunity in the Franklin, Merle Hay, I don't know how Beaverdale kind of mix.
I know, I feel like it's a mixture of the three, because you're not far from Merle Hay, but you're not too far from the Beaverdale area, so you've got this mix going on.
Right, exactly. But if you ask the Beaverdalians, they'll tell you we're not in Beaverdale.
I'm sure they will tell you.
Or maybe we are in Beaverdale. See, they get me, you know, kind of mixed up. But yeah, so we needed that bigger space. We felt like with Anawim just right around the corner too, it could become something kind of like a 6th Avenue corridor, right? Where it's a whole housing initiative around in this area. So we found an ample opportunity to build here with our friends Anawim. And again, I go to Riverbend quite often. We always still place signs. We still talk to folks about, you know, our programs, but we would never abandon our Riverbend neighborhood. And I want the folks to know that, like, you know, we're there. We're still there. We're still there with you, even though our physical location is not there.
So, no, that's important, y'all. They haven't gone anywhere. 'Cause I know how folks get. They start getting like ugly. Well, I'm not gonna go back there because they're gone. But I encourage people to come see the place. It's a really nice, spacious place, great conference room area. Like you walk in, and I remember the old building. So I mean, I could, you walk in the door, but I imagine you all are probably liking more space
Absolutely.
as well in the space.
There's so much room to run around.
Yeah.
You get hidden.
Exactly. So talk to me a little bit about how long have you been doing this work?
Sure. Oh boy, two years.
Really?
I think. Yeah, 3 years this year in August.
Okay.
Again, no background in my financials, mortgage, nothing.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was like, what drew you to this place?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, let's be real.
Yeah.
Bobretta Bruton, if
Okay.
anybody knows her,
My old elementary principal, yes.
she drew me to this position in this organization. I always knew that I wanted to work in nonprofit. At the time, I was working with a nonprofit, kind of behind the scenes, getting my feet wet in that space. You know what that means for a Black woman, and a nonprofit, and finding my space. And then Bobretta came around, and said, "Hey, I think you should take this opportunity." I don't know anything about that. I don't have a clue about any of that. She said, "No, you go ahead and do it." So I did it. I'm here. And it's a beautiful thing. I always knew I wanted to be in housing to some capacity. I'm unfortunately a lifelong renter currently. But, so I knew that renting and the rights for renters was something I was really strong and passionate about, just hearing stories. And it even carried into the home ownership space. You know, there's a lot of ugly in the home ownership space even. So I've been able to find my comfortable level on, okay, I got to separate rentals because that's not really me, and home ownership, but I've been able to make some connections in the community to even still help the rentership side of it as well. But it's been a beautiful thing ever since. I've been connecting with folks like yourself, and just, again, I've never wanted to be like up in front, be the face on everything, going to all the fancy parties, but I also wanted to know that in the background, people are saying my name. They're talking about the things that I'm trying to get done, and that's all I ever wanted. That's all I ever wanted.
Yeah. If you could say a few things, what is it about neighborhood finance that you love?
Ooh, that's tough. There's a lot. What do I love? I love the affordability of their loan products. I love the realness of their loan products and the explanations as to why they do what they do. And then, I love the 10,000, right? Let's be real. I love the option of forgivable money to fix up your house right when you move in. Because how many people have moved into their house and was like, well, I got all this stuff to do, but I ain't got no money. So I guess it's going to be held off for another 6 months, but to have that opportunity to do something to your own home, regardless if it needs to be done, you could put your own spin on that house, with that $10,000. So that's what I love about it. Yeah.
Well, that's great. And let's talk a little bit about that 10,000 because I've heard that number be floating around. I do taxes from time to time, so I see people get the little that little forgivable thing. Tell me a little bit about that 10,000 and that program and what that can help homeowners with.
Sure. So NFC is based on this forgivable money that is built into the property. So that's why it's very important that our homes, or when you're buying in the NFC area, that money follows those properties in that area. So that's why it's really important that if you're going to go through us, you have to be in the NFC area.
Okay.
That $10,000 is a combination of a couple of things. So it's obviously things that you want to have done to your house. So the example I always give is like, oh, I want to refinish my basement. But the other side of that, because of the work that we do and the mission that we have of revitalization, is that we want to make sure that there's no deferred maintenance. And deferred maintenance looks like chipping, peeling paint, large crack in the driveway, trees hanging over the roof, things of that nature. So we want to make sure that things that should have been taken care of are also taken care of with that $10,000. So it's partially what we require and then what you want to have done to the house. And then hand in hand, you get what you need done, you get what you want done, and it's a beautiful thing. And then again, up to $10,000 is forgivable. Right? So after 5 years of living in that house as your primary residence, which I don't think anybody moving in has the intentions of moving out any sooner than that, as long as they live in that house for 5 years, that money goes away. It's gone. But you've used it to help improve your house.
Right.
So that's kind of how that works. And again, it's not based on household income. It's just basically strict on if that property has that money in there, and then if it's in the NFC area.
Okay, so how can people find out about that? If they go to the website, reach out to you, how can they find out a little bit more?
It's not that easy.
Okay, it's not that easy.
We can't give away all the goodies.
Just want to know.
But I mean, if you're serious about looking, your realtor can reach out to us and ask us, hey, we're looking at this property. Here's the address. I can look that up if that's been used or not. Okay. What we don't want, though, I get it, it's exciting. What we don't want is like, oh, I've got these list of 5 houses. Can you tell me if each one has any money in it? Like, I'm not going to do that.
You know how people can do too. So you know how that goes.
so unfortunately, there's no way for, you know, somebody off the street to go and look and see if this is available. It's something that you'll inquire with us.
Okay.
But again, we want to make sure you're serious if you're looking at this property. I mean, everybody wants to know. You know, I mean, I'd want to know too. So as long as it doesn't get out of hand. I mean, I'm not going to say no, but.
Right. So let me be clear. This is for people if you're looking for a home, and this is something that you get when you're purchasing a home. This is not for necessarily homeowners who already have a home. This is strictly for when you're starting that process.
Correct. This is the $10,000 for forgivable money strictly when you purchase through NFC in the NFC lending area.
Okay.
If you already own your own home, we got something for you too, but this is strictly just for purchases.
Okay, I want to make that clear because I can see someone listening and being like, "Oh, I'm a homeowner. Let me call up NFC and see if I can get this $10,000."
I can see it.
That's for something different.
I see it.
Now, do you have programming for homeowners already? Maybe if they need to do something to their house, maybe if they need, you know, some kind of training. Do you do anything with homeowners also that, like, if they're having issues with paying their mortgage or anything, do any programs for homeowners?
Yeah, so we don't specifically deal with missed payments or the potential for a missed payment. That's something that the servicer, whoever it may be, you'll need to talk directly. But I mean, that's the first step, is talking to them. Say, hey, even if you know you're going to be late, just be like, hey, I'm going to give you a heads up. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to make this payment. Is there anything that we can do? So we don't offer those services directly. So if you do own your own home, we do have programs that will help you out to make those maintain that home.
Okay.
But we're not talking about like, oh, my pipes have burst and now I need to get a loan to fix this.
Not the huge major things, right?
Exactly. It's talking about, well, you know, it looks like that fence is going to fall over, or I got this tree hanging over my house, or maybe I want to refinish my basement. Maybe there's some electricity. So there's a lot of different things that you can do as a current homeowner. And the way that it's different is that, yes, if you, going back to purchase, if you purchase, you get up to that $10,000.
Right.
If you currently own, you can get a percentage up to $10,000 that is forgiven.
Okay.
So even if you make like $100,000 a year, you could still get 25% of the total renovation cost up to $10,000 forgiven. Okay. So it shifts from the purchase price of the home, like a new purchase, to, if you're a current homeowner, how much is it going to cost me to fix it? Right. And that's how that loan is based off of. But we do offer for purchase and for current homeowners. As long as you've owned for a year, you can come to us and say, what does this look like for me? This is what I want to do.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's good. I want to make sure we distinguish all of those things.
Absolutely.
I know how people are. They listen to these things and then something perks and they go, oh, I think they can do this. And it's like, let's be very clear about all of the services and things you can do. Now, I know you do that, like home buyer education you all provide. Thinking forward, like coming up in maybe April, May, do you have any of those education opportunities coming up in the near future?
Sure. And one clarifying item as we're talking about making sure everybody knows.
Right.
So our home buyer education is not your typical 8 hours HUD approved like you would through Home Inc., Habitat, the City of Des Moines. It's going to be specific to the Journey to Home Ownership program, or the J2H is also what it's known. Just quick synopsis. Down payment assistance specifically intended for Black African American potential home buyers. So that one is completely different, but that one, home buyer education is specific to HUD approved agencies, right? So this is just specific to the program, J2H, and this is about barriers that you could potentially run into as a Black African American home buyer. So the difference is that we're not HUD approved because we're specific to the program. Any home buyer education that's required by a lender, that'll need to go through Home Inc., Habitat for Humanity, such as that.
You have this specific
we have this specific program. And specific to that J2H or Journey to Home Ownership program, I think I booked up to like October roughly on having these courses or these presentations or these classes. And these classes for J2H are, for people who want to get this down payment assistance money, but I also invite anybody who's exploring the idea, you know, as a Black African American home buyer, just come to the class. You can get so much information. We've got about 3 or 4 panelists that come in and just talk about the potential barriers that you may have or you may run across and what resources can help you.
Okay, that's good to know that people can come even if they're not really getting the home now, but they want to get that information, because we've shared this information before, and I think there might be the confusion of like, oh, well, I'm not ready to buy a house yet, maybe one day, but even if it's that one day thing, this would be the class to attend.
Absolutely. I encourage anybody who is exploring home ownership, who, again, identifies or doesn't identify as Black African American, it's a lot of information that you could use later on. So, I mean, the more information you get ahead of time, the better.
Right. Okay, that's great. So let's tell someone how they can reach out to you, how they can reach out to neighborhood finance, if they want to have services, or even just have a conversation. Are you open just to having a conversation
Sure,
about
absolutely.
where I'm at in the journey? So tell us how we can get a hold of.
Sure. So I am best by email. You can call me on the phone, but because I do the outreach piece, I'm in and out. So you may reach me, you may not reach me.
Yes.
But you could call me. My phone number, my email address. My email address is brobinson at neighborhoodfinance.org. My phone number is listed on the website. Neighborhoodfinance.org is the main website. That's where you'll also find details of the programs, where you'll find that lending map to find out if that property you're looking at is in the NFC lending area. I'm usually in office Tuesday through Friday, so just pop on in if you need to. Again, I'm always open to have a conversation, even if you're not ready to buy. I'm more than willing to sit down and kind of explain to you what you may come across and what you may want to look out for as you're going through that.
Yeah, no, I thank you for talking about that. And I think really being transparent is probably the thing that most people need through this process as they're trying to make a decision on if they want to just stick with renting or if they want to start to delve into the world of home ownership. Is there anything else that we need to talk about that we didn't cover that you want to share? Any programming, anything that I missed?
No, just again, attend the J2H classes if you can, if you're interested. Otherwise, have patience. The programs are well worth it.
Right.
It's just getting to understand what it all means is the toughest part.
And those J2H classes will go all the way up until October.
Yep, all the way and past then even.
Past
so
then,
I just
okay.
haven't even.
You haven't
I'm
gotten
not beyond October yet. Yep.
October, but there will be an opportunity to take a J2H class sometime this year. So
Absolutely.
Make sure that you are a part of that. So we want people to be a part of that as well.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right.
Great.
Bridgett, thank you so much for having a conversation
Thank you.
with me.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Right.